Mark here. A video, this one is, as the title says, what caliber shouldn't you start with when it goes to precision long range shooting or ELR. You're starting off with rifles and learning how to shoot them. What caliber shouldn't you start with? Quickly I'll touch on, I'm using the word caliber the way most people do it. Yes, for those people who don't know, caliber is just the bore of the rifle. It's just the size in the hole in the barrel. It's used but to just actually describe what should be termed as cartridge, as chambering, as round. These are the correct names for when you're talking about a round in whether it's a 308 or a 300 Win mag, or it's a 330 Lapua, or it's a 22 rimfire. These are generally, the colloquial term is caliber. So that's why I'm using it here, because a lot of the people I'm trying to reach are people who actually need the information I'm about to share. So what caliber shouldn't you start with? And I suppose I'll flip the coin right to where you'd normally put it. What's a good one to start with? A good one to start with is one you already have. That's a great place to start. You don't need to spend too much. You've got something there. Whether it's in the dad's closet, or it's in the dad's gun safe, or it's something you have access to and you can learn with it, then okay, there's a degree of logic to that. There's nothing to spend. If you're picking a caliber that actually works, the likes of a 22 rimfire is a really good choice. Cheap, lots of plinking, can play with it. You can learn very, very quickly as to the basics of it with low recoil, low cost, and don't need much of a rifle, cheap ammunition, so you can actually put some runs on the board. And as long as you have the basics of it, learn about follow through on the trigger, learn about form, learn about doing it all properly, and that will improve how a 22 operates as well. But in the step up from that, in going to centerfire, then I will always be an advocate for the likes of the 308, because it's a slow moving, fairly slow moving. It isn't that slow moving in reality, but it is generally a slower moving, a heavier bullet than a lot of the modern cartridges that do a similar thing. And for that same reason, you will learn faster. It has moderate recoil, but it's not aggressive. And for someone who is far more recoil sensitive, a smaller frame person, a female, someone who's learning and really doesn't want that amount of recoil, then the likes of a 223. Once again, this has got lots of good features to it. And there's lots of details that go in. There's different 223s and there's different 308s in the way of rifles. And yes, those are relevant details, which I can get into in later, and I have done in previous videos also. But those are decent places to start. The reason for both of them are not quite as efficient as a lot of what would be more efficient and more competitive rounds to start with. So the likes of whether it's a 6mm Creedmoor or a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 6.5 PRC or a 7mm backcountry or all the modern sort of stuff, even into the other, whether it's any of the Magnums, or and I should really stay down in the 260 Remingtons, and there's lots of bits and pieces where they are more efficient and they will be more competitive. But we're talking about starting. So we're talking about learning and then getting something that actually is something that you can handle, but because of its slight inefficiencies, it becomes something that you learn faster with. Always it's not the deep end of the pool, but it is certainly getting into where you can get your feet out off the floor and you can actually start to learn properly, is one of the things I'd suggest. And the more efficient rounds can be where they're very good competitive rounds, they're more efficient at things. They can actually make it a little easier, which isn't what you're trying to do. We're actually trying to learn better, so that you learn better on something that's a little less inefficient, actually lets you pick up things a little faster. And when you do step up later on, if you do step up later on, then you will be able to, know more, because you've learned about how to read wind properly. You've learned how important it is to get your elevation correct as you get out in longer ranges and that sort of stuff. The likes of, there's others, but the likes of the 308 and the 223 are very good at doing that. But that wasn't the question I was actually putting forward, was it? It was what you shouldn't start with. And I suppose the simple thing is, I'll pick a caliber out of the blue, or not so much, but the 338 Lapua is not a good cartridge to start with. There's 300 rums. There's actually all of the bigger magnums is what we're moving into. The 338 Lapua I picked because I know so many of those rifles that have shot some 2 or 3 rounds, some a box of ammunition, but they sit in a safe and not used. Now, it does not mean that it's a bad cartridge by any means. And it isn't really specific about that cartridge. It's about something that actually has too much recoil for a person who isn't experienced. And one of the problems here is some of the people who want to do this, they've got a fair bit of ego attached to this. So they don't want to start the base, they don't want to start at the baby end, they want to start at the big end and be able to just learn to shoot that. And I'll be wiped by one gun and done. I'll be able to get on and do that and shoot really well. And that's a sniper round, so that should do everything. Well, no, it's not like that. It is very much a case of like buying a full-blown race car and going and embarrassing yourself at the track because you can't actually drive the thing. It actually takes a whole heap of learning to get to that place. With that full-blown race car, you can break it before you even do a full lap with the damn thing because it is complicated to actually drive it, and you have to learn through a process to get there. The 338 Lapua, or that type of thing, one of the bigger rounds with a lot more recoil. The 338 stands out a fair bit because you're running a heavy projectile. Heavy projectile, getting it moving, even if it doesn't move that fast, there's a lot of pushback the other way, so there's a lot more recoil because of it. Particularly if you buy it a basic off-the-shelf gun, very few of them are set up well to where they control the recoil, or they help you control the recoil better. They're set up with the right bits and pieces to make them very pleasant to shoot. And I suppose ultimately what I'm saying, with any one of those things, they can all be got there, right to the 50 BMG or the 416 Barrett or the 357 Shy-Tac or the, you name it, whatever that favorite round that you think, I'll go and buy one of them because I want to be able to shoot really well and I just do it when I want to do it, so I'll learn how to use that and it'll be fine. Is every single one of those, which you might call elite cartridges at some stage or other, they were in that place or may still be in that place. They may designed to be shot not just in a platform that is comprehensively set up to do it properly, but also by a shooter that's got a fair few runs on the board. A lot of this stuff takes a fair bit of learning to get it right, but it isn't just learning. It isn't just learning and you can go and train with the course and do this and do everything right physically, because shooting doesn't quite work like that. Shooting, as a lot of things actually, runs a lot on confidence as well as competence. So when you've got something that really does hit you hard, makes a loud bang, hits you hard, and moves compared to how you react to it, that destroys confidence quickly. So one of the big reasons to not go too far, not jump too far into the deep end, is that there are a lot of people who are not shooters anymore or are terrible shooters because they made that incorrect step to start off with. And I get their logic. Buy a motorbike, I'll buy the big one, learn to ride it, I'll just ride it gently until I understand it, and I've still got this wonderful big racing motorbike that works really well, or the car or the truck or whatever it is. And yes, there is a logic of being able to use that way. A firearm doesn't really let you drive it gently. It doesn't do that. And if you fire a shot and you get a 6-inch pattern at 100 yards, that is not confidence building. And trust me, you can buy one of those things. I have seen that sort of stuff. I've used the 338 Lapua, not because of it specifically, but it is because it was a cool thing to have. 10 years ago, it's what people needed to have in my neck of the woods. And there were a fair few people that bought them and couldn't shoot them. Now, laying down behind them, sitting them on the bench, pulling the trigger, that's not hard. But actually getting a decent group, that didn't work. And it just was too much of okay, this is fun, this is awesome, wait a minute, I can't even line up. I don't really want to go to the range and do that again. I'm not going to worry about it. I've got the gun, it's there, and I'll move on. Whereas if they'd started with a more reasonable, and the 308 is one they used, but it could be a 6.5 Creedmoor, it could be sort of pretty much any of that sort of stuff, there's a lot more shootable, then they can shoot it well, just straight off by getting the basics right, and they can actually build up on learning what those things are. And that's another point that I'll say. I have for at least 10 years see the people who email with, I've got this rifle, I've got a couple of small rifles I shoot well, I've got this one, I can't make it shoot properly, I don't understand what's wrong. When I go through that conversation, they will have the 223 and a 6.5 Creedmoor, or a 6mm Creedmoor and a 260 Remington, or a whatever it is, a couple of moderate guns in decent setups that they shoot well. Then they step up to a 300 Win Mag, a 7mm Rem Mag, a 300 PRC, whatever it is, a 338 Lapua, and then it won't shoot properly. And that's because they had a low recoil, quite well set up firearm that worked okay off the bench, and they didn't learn enough of it. They were just doing it and didn't learn enough form or understanding what's going on, how it was set up. For the recoil, it was working and they're getting a reasonable group. They go to the big one, they get a terrible group. It's not because it's a terrible cartridge, it's not because it's a terrible round, it's not because it's inaccurate, it's because it actually takes more skill to actually understand it. You have to have learnt it more thoroughly, and you have to set it up better. A poor setup in a lower recoiling rifle is nowhere near as relevant as a poor setup in a higher recoiling rifle. So there's a lot more that you can go through. I'll put a whole list of stuff down below, as I always do, so you can go through and figure that sort of stuff, whether it's muzzle jump or it's muzzle brakes or it's bipod setup or it's scope setups. All this matters, but it does come down to one of the worst cartridges you could start with is something that's way too big for you. And keep in mind with that, as I would say never, it works sometimes, but I would say never. Never get someone small, your girlfriend or what it is, and put them down behind one of these big ones as this big, exciting experience they can shoot that. For some people, they'll laugh and giggle, or it'll be great, and oh, carry on, oh, I love it, it was awesome. For other people, you've just frightened someone away from guns for the rest of their lives, because that was traumatic. They hated it. Keep it down to where it works, learn how it works properly, particularly when you're sharing it to something that's pleasant to shoot. And it's actually really nice for people to be able to, not just pleasant to shoot, but they can keep hitting the same thing. Someone gets a small group on their first time of shooting, you're more likely to get someone who wants to come back than someone has trouble getting it in the pattern on the first time they're shooting. Anyway, food for thought, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for checking in. We'll catch you next time.